Alright, hey guys, Toku Gamer here, and
This is Montes from the Elmontes YouTube channel.
we're here today with another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Corner. So, yeah, I wanted to talk today about mainly, well, in celebration of one of my favorite series, Ultraman, I wanted to talk about Kaiju today. So, I mean, like, you've seen, like, how I use the Kaijus. Like, what did you think of them?
I think the Kaijus, they tend to be very overpowered as long as you can pull out the
spell cards?
Yeah, the certain spell cards are required to pull them out as quickly as possible, and then they just more or less mow them over. I haven't had a lot of experience working with them, but I would like to see how many other variations you can build off the Kaijus, making different kinds of decks and so forth.
Well, I mean, with Kaijus, it's like, the weirdest thing about the Kaijus is that they can actually work with, like, any deck.
Mm-hmm.
You just add them in, and you just have, like, a small engine in there, like, kind of like a contingency plan, because you have, like, the main deck, which is, like, the other half, which is why people make, like, True Draco Kaiju, or Gradial's Kaiju, or something like that, because they work with almost any deck, because all you have to do is basically put 2 interrupted kaiju sleeps and 2 of your favorite kaijus. One has to be the weaker one, and then one has to be the stronger one, and then there you go. Essentially, that's actually why people don't run dark holes as much lately, because I noticed that everybody's been running interrupted kaiju sleep because essentially it is a dark hole, but it replaces everything with 2 kaijus and they have to kill each other, which is... It's kind of broken, which is probably why they limited down the spell card to 2, because people were abusing the hell out of it because it was just so good. Because it's like, oh, you summon out all that? Well, sorry about that. I activate this. Now you have a kaiju that's going to die in a second. And even worse is that there is actually a kaiju. It's like a super mech war machine one. That one can absorb kaijus from the graveyard and become that kaiju's attack power. So if you have like a really powerful one that you just put in the graveyard and you summon him, you get all that power. But aside from that, it's like the downside though is still it feels really shitty to like bring out your best monster only for it to be kaiju'd. Like people are really salty about it. Like it's kind of like a love-hate relationship, which is kind of weird because people love kaiju, but at the same time they hate it. And the weirdest thing is that it's not even in Japan. It's a TCG exclusive archetype like Subterrors or Spirals. Because of that, it's just like only America has the issue of kaijus, while Japan doesn't have to deal with that crap at all.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Planeswalkers. Although Planeswalkers has its own little separate little systems. I think, what was it? The Pendulums. Those cards?
Oh yeah, the ones where you could like summon out everything or whatever at once?
Yes. The Pendulums, I've noticed that they are kind of similar to Planeswalker in that they add a different kind of mechanics into the game.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was thinking like the kaijus don't add
no,
mechanics,
they don't.
but they're just as strong.
Yeah, no. It's weird because they go off of the old style of the tributing or the sacrificing, which is weird because it's like, oh, well, they're not actually doing anything. They're just special summoning, tributing your monster. So that's why they're so broken, because essentially a lot of the effects of being destroyed by a card effect, like saying, if this card is destroyed by a card effect, do this. But the thing is, you're not destroying it. You're sacking it just to get another monster. So it negates everything that are on basically like 90% of all cards that have those effects. So it's like, that's why people rage at them when it's like, yeah, I'm going to beat you. Nope, kaiju.
Yeah.
That's basically the reason why they rage so much.
Yeah, isn't there like certain cards out there that you can basically sacrifice the opponent's cards?
There have been other cards before the kaijus. There was Lava Golem. There was Volcanic Queen, and then there was another one called Santa Claus, like claws as in like claws, and those would require more, like, Lava Golem required 2 sacrifices. Oh, no, there's also, Winged Dragon of Raw Spear mode, you know, like one of the gods. There's a special version of it that's just a ball, but you have to you can actually sacrifice 3 of your opponent's monsters to bring it out.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah, that one is hilarious because I actually saw people teching it in recently in the regionals. It was hilarious because, like, I was watching a few duels and I saw this guy just be like, oh, well, here's your spear mode. You can't do anything with it, so...
Didn't it appear in the series in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah. It did because essentially it appeared in the anime because you had to cite a specific like ritual, like you had to say a specific phrase to, you know, transform it. But in the TCG and the OCG, it's a little bit different. You just have to do you have to meet a specific requirement to transform it into the Winged Dragon of Ra or whatever, which is kind of weird, but it's mainly used just to take care of like big boss monsters.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is one of the things that I've talked in the last episodes. I said that the more variety there is, the more specialization that is required. And I was reading up because in reality it's actually the other way around.
Yeah.
The more cards you have, the less specialization that is required, which means that you can build decks that any variety of decks can counter a specific deck. If you have more variation.
Well, no, it's the thing as you mentioned. Every deck nowadays in Yu-Gi-Oh has staple cards. Every deck has to run 2 Twin Twisters. They have, like most I know standard, you have to run an upstart goblin, and then you have to run. You have to run the 2 Solemn Strikes I mentioned before and the Solemn Warning. You absolutely need those. And then most decks I know, they run the, you know, like the field spells now, so you have to have 3 terraformings, which is why it's so versatile. And then most people also now run the new Ash Blossom and Ghost Ogre, you know, the hand traps.
Yes.
You need those because if you don't, your opponent's just going to steamroll all over you.
Yeah. You call them staple cards.
Yeah.
And in Yu-Gi-Oh, no, not Yu-Gi-Oh. In the Magic the Gathering, I'm not sure how many staple cards there are out there because.
But you have staple cards, like that, like the Elixir of Immortality.
Yes, the Elixir of Immortality basically means that you tap it, you gain 5 life, and then you. Gain 5 life. You take your deck from the graveyard back into their main deck with the Elixir of Immortality that you just tap, and you shuffle it back in.
Yeah.
It is a great staple card if you're not a black colored deck.
Yeah.
Because black colored decks requires a lot of cards to be in your graveyard to begin with.
Kind of like zombies.
Yeah, but there's for white decks is usually a card called Pacifism that has been reprinted almost
in every set,
almost in every set, and a lot of people make fun of it that what was it? Well, it usually uses the flavor text that he's been passive for the last 20-something years.
Jeez.
Because that's how long it's been reprinted, and I think in the new edition that they're going to come out, it's going to get reprinted again.
Dude, like they should at this point just call it Pacifism 2 or something. Just after, you know, it's like it's been 3,000 years or something.
Well, the thing is it's very simple. It's fairly cheap, and I think it's an instant as well.
Okay.
Just like in yours, the twin.
The Twin Twisters are a quick play spell.
Yeah, the quick play spells in that you sacrifice 1 card to get rid of 2 of another spells, right?
Well, that's only Twin Twister. Most don't require... Well, some require discards, but some of them don't, like Mystic Space Typhoon. It's a quick play too, but all it says is activate this, destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field.
And then for Pacifism, all it does is says your creature can attack or defend, and that's it. Very simple, very easy to.
So it just neutralizes your opponent's stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds more like that card sounds exactly like a trap card called Threatening Roar. It just says you cannot attack this turn.
But can it defend?
Well, no, because if he summoned it face up, he can't do it like in defense. He can't switch it until next turn, so essentially he can't. So it's like, oh, you summon that big monster, you're going to attack? Nah, Threatening Roar.
Yeah.
Or pacified them.
But this is for that turn. For Pacifism, it stays there until you get rid of it.
Oh, so it's permanent. So it's more like... Actually, that sounds more like Kunai with Chain or one of the Chain cards where it says this monster cannot attack, but he cannot switch positions either, and his effects are negated at the same time, too.
Yeah, and it stays there for the rest of the game unless you can get rid of it.
Yeah, that sounds like... A lot of trap cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Do that now. They didn't used to. They used to be just really generic and okay, but now they're just like, stops everything. Like that Quaking Mirror Force that I had. It's just... flip them face down. They cannot move. You cannot change it. It's just there until you get rid of it.
Yeah. Another thing that I was wondering, you were going to talk about what things we could do to fix the core system of the game to make it better. But before that, I was wondering, is there cards that messes with the core rules? For example, in Magic the Gathering, you have these two cards that I really like called, what is it? Shadowborn Apostle and Relentless Rat, which says that you can have as many of those cards in the deck as you like without limitations. Normally in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have
no, there aren't cards that extend the deck limit, because the deck limit is 60, but every card has to be at 3. You cannot change that.
Yes.
It always stays like that.
And that's what makes these two in Magic the Gathering so unique, in that these are the only two cards that says you can have as many of those cards in
which actually makes it kind of annoying, because then it's like, if Yu-Gi-Oh did that, it's like, oh, I can summon up to like 5 of these specific monsters at once and then use them to overlay and summon extra deck monsters. Yeah. But the whole thing that I was thinking of to fix a lot of the issues is just a lot of extensions of things. Like say the extra deck. We've been at 15. I actually saw a video by Team APS. Shout out to them, because they're one of my favorite other YouTubers.
Or you can check in the description below as well.
Yeah. Like, I'll put a link down for them as well, because they're pretty awesome. Basically, they did a video about what could actually solve a lot of the issues, like with link summoning come out, and they mentioned the whole, maybe we could increase the limit of the extra deck, which would be an amazing idea, because we're stuck at 15 still, and it's been like that since the GX era. And the problem is now we have Fusion, Synchros, XYZs, and technically Pendulums, if you count them, because they go face up on top of the extra deck. And now Links, it's like, there's no way to fit everything you need for a deck in just 15 cards. That's it. You can, but it'll limit the deck's like creativity and like certain things that you absolutely need. Like for me, I run ABCs. The thing is, now I can only run maybe 1 Bujinte Tsukiyomi now, when I should be running 2, but I have to make room for the 2 Link monsters now. So there's always a downside.
Yeah, I feel like they're just adding more and more rules to complicate the game.
Yeah, but it's kind of clogging things up, because I get what they're trying to do. Link Summon is technically, it's a pretty decent idea, because it slows down the game, because before it was just annoyingly just hard to get rid of everybody's stuff, but now it's like they can't do that anymore. So a lot of decks just can't work, which actually slows the game down back to maybe like the GX era, like 2005 kind of format, which is great. But the problem with that is still, I mean, we still have the old restrictions on there. We still have the 5-card limit. I mean, sure, we have that new extra deck monster zone, but we still have the limitation of 5 zones here and 5 here, and Pendulum players get screwed even harder, because the Pendulums used to be here. Now they're down here in the Spell and Trap card zone, so essentially you're sacrificing 2 more spots, so it's restricting you even harder.
Although I kind of find that would actually be a good thing in a way, but
well, yeah, for Pendulums, yes, because if you've ever faced a Pendulum deck, you're like, oh, I kill all your stuff, and it goes to the top of the extra deck, and he still has his scales, he can just resummon everything.
Yeah, as long as it's within those 2 numbers.
That is actually why Twin Twister came about as a staple, because people needed it to take care of both the scales.
Yes, which I'm thinking, like, the Twin Twister should have been there from long before, because you have...
No, it's been there since a while. It's just, it didn't get much use, because before it, the staple for Spell and Trap card removal was Mystic Space Typhoon. But after Pendulum showed up, people were like, we gotta get rid of those Pendulums. And then they started reprinting Twin Twisters, and everybody's like, wait, this can kill 2 Spell and Trap cards. And because Pendulums are counted as Spell and Trap cards, you can kill them instantly.
Yeah, so now they become staple cards.
Yeah. That's why you need them, but at the same time, there's a downside to Twin Twister with the discard. If you run a deck that discards, it's not that big of a deal. But if you run a deck that has, like, all the cards are really important, it's not a good thing to be discarding your stuff.
Yes, and then there's some decks that require you to have a good hand in your a good hand. So What was I saying? Yeah, so like for example, what was the deck that you built me? The
Oh, the Phantasm Spyro deck.
Those require
OG deck right
yeah,
there.
those require you to have at least a decent hand of monsters and a few
Yeah,
special cards.
no.
And
See,
if you run out of things,
see, Yu-Gi-Oh is weird because some people are like, oh man, that's skill. No, it is always 50-50 skill and luck. If you don't get that good draw, you can maybe work through it depending on your deck. Like I've had times where my ABC deck actually has bricked really badly, and I've gotten a really bad hand, but I played through it and I still won somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But that's rare. That is very, very rare.
Yes.
Because if you're playing against somebody who has a top tier deck,
mm-hmm.
there is no chance for you to win, because if you brick, it's all over.
Yeah.
Just GG.
Yeah, in the Magic the Gathering, there's like a rule that you can have that's called a mulligan.
Oh, mulligan.
Yeah, mulligan.
Yeah, we don't do it. Well, in Yu-Gi-Oh, you only do it in casual play.
Mm-hmm.
And even in casual play, it depends on the person. Like, if you're playing with somebody you know, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're playing with somebody who's a dick, then tough luck.
Yes. So I think that's about as much time that we have. Is there anything else you want to finish off with before?
No, that's basically. I just want to talk about Kaijus today. That was my main thing today.
Yeah, I think we could have more opportunities later in the future to talk about more about Kaijus, because that's not the end of it.
No.
And then I've yet to actually use them. So I want to have a more deep experience about doing that as well.
The problem with it, actually, speaking of that now, is that Kaijus can't be played in a pure variant. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
See, since they're an American exclusive. Or, well, not American exclusive, just TCG exclusive. It's just, it would be great if in the next set they put out more support for it.
Mm-hmm.
That, where you can actually play it as a pure variant without having to, like, put in weird cards to make it work. Because I have a deck that works. It's still really janky because it just doesn't work as a pure variant. You need specific other cards to back it up. You can't just play only that, like Light Swarms or something.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
That's the only downside, which is actually, that's the one last comment I want to put. We need more support for Kaijus.
Yes.
We have good cards, but half of the cards are shit. Especially the spell and trap cards. They don't do shit except for the field spell.
Mm-hmm.
And what's worse is that Kaijus, like their effects, if your opponent has a Kaiju, they can use the counters on the card for themselves. Mm-hmm. There should be a card that limits that, because then you're just giving your opponent a freebie, essentially.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I don't like.
Okay. Well, let's sign off. And,
let's not.
And leave it as a suspense.
All right, this is Toku Gamer signing off.
And this is Montes signing off.